Welcome to this flip video on conditional sentences, or conditionals. Conditionals are quite difficult to use correctly because they seem to break many different grammar rules. Their use of modals and tenses, as well as subtle differences in meaning, can make learning conditionals seem intimidating. However, this lesson titled, If the Big One Strikes, We Need to Be Ready, presents three simple structures you can follow to correctly use and understand conditional sentences. This lesson will be broken up into two videos. In this video, we will discuss conditional sentences that deal with the present and the future. And in the next one, we will discuss conditionals that deal with the past as well as alternative formats used to express conditionals. Before we continue, I should explain that the big one refers to a very strong earthquake that we here in California expect will strike sooner or later. Since we never know when an earthquake, big or small, might strike, we need to be ready. But let's get back to conditionals. A conditional sentence is a complex sentence which consists of an independent clause and a dependent clause. In a conditional sentence, the if clause sets up or presents the condition, and the main clause provides the result. As the example shows, if there's an earthquake is the if clause and presents a condition. The land shakes provides the result. In the first example, the if clause begins the sentence, which means that we cannot forget to add a comma at the end of this introductory dependent clause. However, if we were to say, the land shakes if there is an earthquake, then we would not need to add a comma to that sentence. This table represents an overview of the basic structure used in conditional sentences, including the verb form. As you can see in this table, conditional sentences follow a consistent pattern that is easy to learn. You can refer back to this slide if you are uncertain about the structure of a specific conditional sentence. Each of the sample sentences express a very different meaning, which we will discuss in the following slides. The first and most common type of conditional is a conditional sentence that expresses a true, factual idea in the present or the future. This is a conditional that is often used to express physical laws, so you science and engineering majors need to master it. In this type of conditional, the verb in the if clause is in the simple present form. However, the result clause can have several different verb forms. If both the if clause and the main clause are in the simple present, then this expresses a habitual activity or situation. The example sentence, if there's an earthquake, the Richter scale measures it, expresses a general truth. If you remember back to the lesson on verb tenses, a verb in the present tense refers to habitual actions and general truths, so this conditional is a reflection of that definition. The simple future expresses a particular activity or situation in the future. The example sentence, if I prepare one thing every day, I will avoid being caught unprepared by a natural disaster, refers to an imminent or impending natural disaster that may happen. However, even if the natural disaster does not happen, I will avoid being caught unprepared. I will be ready. Finally, this type of conditional can also use a modal or phrasal modals. As we have learned before in previous lessons, modals express different levels of certainty. The first example, if there's an earthquake, I should be ready, expresses a degree of uncertainty. But our second example, if there's an earthquake, we are going to be ready, expresses certainty in our preparedness because we have been storing one item each day. The pencil icon on the bottom right corner means that you should now pause the video and complete the first part of the supplementary worksheet on conditional sentences. Once you fill in the blanks on 1A and 1B, go ahead and replay the video from this point. The second type of conditional sentence we will discuss is a conditional that expresses an untrue situation. In order to properly express the untrue statement in the present or future, the if clause needs to be in the simple past, and the main clause should have the modal would, followed by a verb in the simple form. The example sentence, if my grandfather taught the earthquake preparedness class, he would not finish until next year, expresses an untrue situation, since my grandfather does not teach any classes. The second sentence, if I were president, I would invest in natural disaster relief funds, also expresses a situation which is contrary to fact. The truth is, I am not president, so I have little control over national spending. You may have noticed that I used were in this sentence. While were is usually for plural subjects, in the case of conditional sentences, it is used with both singular and plural subjects. You may hear your friends say something like, "If I was you, I would go." While this might be acceptable in informal speech, it is not considered to be grammatically correct. Before we move on, let's look at the difference in meaning when we use could versus would in this sentence. When I say, "If I were president, I would invest in natural disaster relief funds," this expresses only one possibility, which means that I would invest exclusively in natural disaster relief funds. However, if I were to say, "If I were president, I could invest in natural disaster relief funds," this expresses that investment in natural disaster relief funds is one of many spending options. That's it for this video, but before you go, please pause the video here and do exercises 2A and 2B.